Denny's front window made perfect sense with all the dirt he got into lately out on patrol.
I was on duty that night, and me and Joey, we'd just, stop by to grab something to eat, make sure the Nielsen boxes were working. Good thing we did.
The blood was from Stewart mostly. Stewie, we call him. He's Denny's youngest. He's about 2.
When the shards of glass fell, I couldn't get to Connie and the kids as fast as Joey did on account of my leg. And if Joey hadn't covered them the way he did, it could have been a lot worse. Believe me.
Noel and Connie got cut up on their arms and hands from protecting their heads from the falling glass.
I grabbed my holster, my service revolver off the coat hook by the door where I hung it when I come in. I would have been more prepared, but on duty or not, Connie don't like me wearing it around the house.
Stewie got the worst of it. This shard of window glass hit him along the side of the head.
Time I limped out to the road, I saw the back end of this late model Le Mans hauling off. No plates, back bumper tied on with rope. And I know it was a Le Mans for sure, because Joey and I as kids, we used to hang out on the Dan Ryan overpasses and ID cars by their taillights. I was always better at it than Joey. No contest. I got off a shot or 2. Maybe a 3 or 4. Heat of the moment, I don't remember. I just wanted to put out a tire, shatter the back window or the back of the motherfucker's skull, too, maybe. But all I did was take the plastic of one of them taillights so it glowed this glint of white out of the red like this demon eyeball. Then it vanished.
Now, what really made Denny nuts that night was Stewie wasn't crying. He was just sitting there on the couch. Whole back of his head slick red, his pajamas soaked with it.
I thought, Jesus Christ, no, the glass went into his head.
He backhanded Connie for some reason.
She went fucking berserk on me. Hello?
I called 911, but before the ambulance got here, then he grabbed Stewie and took him out into the squad car.
I grabbed Stewie away from Joey and wrapped him in a blanket because I figured a legitimate emergency. I used the lights, the siren. I can get into Masonic Hospital faster than any fucking ambulance, right? That's logical. Isn't that logical?
There was a Cubs game that night. Traffic was terrible.
I mean, what is it with some people? I got a legitimate emergency on the seat here next to me. They know the law. They see the blues, hear the siren, and still the self-absorbed motherfuckers don't pull over. Everybody in so much a hurry to get someplace they think 15 seconds sooner makes all the difference. Fucking nuts is what it is.
Talk about nuts. It was nuts too, the way Denny wouldn't let me or Connie hold Stewie while he was at the wheel. Even crazier the way he was driving. Up on sidewalks, playing chicken with the pedestrians. Even me working the streets, I'd never seen so much blood. The blanket he had wrapped around Stewie was soaked like a sponge. And Denny, driving like a madman, one-handed. 3 people were hurt in the collision that he caused with the ambulance when he charged that red light. The very ambulance that was on its way to help us. But Denny didn't care. I had my arm around Noel and Connie in the back, trying to keep their breathing steady so they don't hyperventilate. Oh, no way Denny had to slug Connie like that to settle the argument either. She wasn't anywhere near berserk. She sided with me. That's what ticked him off. Well, by the time we got Stewie to Masonic, he was in shock.
I hand Stewie over to the nurse. And the way Connie's looking at me, gashes on her arms, cut on her lip, it's like she's going into shock on me too. Like it's all my fucking fault or something. I mean, they're looking at me. Noel, too, their faces, blood draining from them, blue lips and shivering. Your own family. You're not God, not even a fucking friend of his. You can only do what you can fucking do. No?
The doctor came out after a few hours and told us that the glass had severed the artery along the side of Stewie's neck. There was some possible nerve damage, some possible brain damage. He was critical but stable. There was no way of really knowing. Not until he came out of anesthesia, at least. Under 2 years old, it's hard to assess. Connie, she wanted to stay with Stewie in intensive care that night. When they wouldn't let her, she went a little...
A little? She was fucking hysterical. And choosing this opportune moment to ride my ass? Oh, suddenly Joey's the only one she'll listen to. He talked her into going home, eventually.
It took a while to get Noel to sleep that night. He kept telling Denny, "I'm scared, Daddy, don't go."
Little shit wouldn't even let me turn out the fucking lights.
So after Denny lost patience,
I fucking spanked him. He's my kid. You do him no fucking favors raising him to be tit-bombing mama's boys. Believe me.
took a while to get Noel to sleep. I went into his room, I put him on my lap, and I read him a few stories while Denny called the incident in.
And I'm sorry. It's a blood thing. Joey will tell you I got obsessed. Maybe I did. But a wolf, any animal, will kill to protect its young. What are you gonna tell a wolf tearing out your jugular because you're fucking with its kid? You're obsessed, Mr. Big Bad? See a shrink? Little couch time? Get over it? Joey. He should be teaching Buddhism to Lutherans. Him and his slippery fucking slope. So I shake down half a dozen hookers working the North Avenue Bridge once or twice a week. They got cash to spare and plenty of ways to make up for lost income. I turn ahead, permit human nature to progress its merry way. I keep the pimps out their backs. They stay freelance. Everybody's happy. Serve and protect. It's what I do. If not a plainclothes promotion, why not a little under-the-counter compensation for going above and beyond the call of duty on a regular basis?
Slippery slope, Dad.
It's a community. I take care of them, they take care of me. Everybody gets along. Joey and me, though, we don't always see eye to fucking eye on this. But I tell the hardliner, as soon as you find yourself a nice girl, settle down, pop a few long balls over the fence onto Waveland Avenue off your own bat, the world will look entirely different, my friend. You know what he tells me?
Kids or no, it's still a slippery slope, Denny.
My kid was hurt. One of my babies. It's something in the blood way beyond logic. Spill my kid's blood, you spill my blood. It gets my blood. I can't help it. I filed a report on this drive-by. The make, the model, no plates, right taillight ticked like the eye of a demon, and sure, Dickerson, the yobber, tells me, follow protocol, Lombardo. Let the dicks handle it.
We were already skating on thin ice being over at Denny's when we should have been out on duty. On top of that, using the squad car to get Stewie to Masonic, the accident along the way.
Hey, it's not like it could have been avoided. I mean, Christ, there was my kid's life on the line. I told him, yes, sir, Captain Dickerson. Proper channels, Captain Dickerson. Everything by the books, Captain Dickerson. Like I'm gonna leave the safety of my family to the fucking quota squad? Fuck that shit.
Then he pulled the slug from a 44 Magnum out of the plaster behind the TV. And sure, the dicks were pissed he messed with that crime scene, but then he told them,
This is my effing house. And my effing TV. And I'll do what the F I want with the effing things in it. Capiche, gentlemen?
a 44 Magnum could have been used by any number of characters Denny and I encounter on patrol. But the most likely scenario, Denny tells me,
It's that spineless rat fuck Walter Lorenz.
the pimp Denny beats up on a regular basis for wailing on Rhonda.
Pimps, it's like a job requirement, these guys. First, they gotta be ugly as cat shit. Second, they got themselves convinced they're God's gift to womankind. Okay, so most guys foot that bill. But on top of it, pimps, they got this smell about them. I call it moral rot. I mean, you can actually smell the putrid way they think, wafting off of them like rotten flesh. I mean, they honestly think they're helping these girls, when actually they're keeping them enslaved. If not with drugs, with beer. And they reek of it. I mean, if they really wanted to help them, they do like Joey suggests, and put them through beauty school, or secretary school, or something respectable, you know? But pimps, this pimp mentality, what do? They take pot shots at my family through my fucking front window.
While Denny had it out with the detectives, I tried to calm down Connie. She was a nervous wreck. I told her to try laying off the Valium, but after Denny chased the dicks out, he told her she should have another. Poured her half a glass of scotch to chase it down. By the time I finished reading the 3 Billy Goats Gruff to Noel the 5th time, the 24-hour board-up guys were up over nailing out glass and nailing huge sheets of plywood up over what was left of Denny's front window. I heard Denny out in the rain yelling at the board-up guys. He was pissed they had their company name and phone number plastered along the wood in red ink. He was bickering with them about how much he was planning on billing them for advertising. Connie was woozy from the Valium, the scotch. She walked in on me in Noel's room just as he was drifting off to sleep in my arms. She waved me out of the room. I tucked Noel into bed and I slipped down to the hallway. There she tells me that the doctor had pulled her aside at the hospital and told her that if Denny had waited for the ambulance, Stewie's blood loss and possible nerve damage and possible brain damage could have been repairable, if not preventable altogether. It was all a lot of maybes. And I told Connie so, and she said she knows, but Denny does this all the time. He thinks he can do everything himself. She told me about his leg. Denny refused to see a doctor for it. He wouldn't take any money from Connie's mom or dad for the house. No mortgage, no down payment, nothing. She tells me that Denny insists on working 2, sometimes 3 jobs to make ends meet. Yeah, Denny never worked any 2 or 3 jobs. He barely worked the 1. Oh, unless you count in shaking down hookers and tavern keepers as sidelines. Yeah, he'd stay out late, tell Connie he was moonlighting. And even though I knew Denny was out dicking around, the putz that I am, I was covered for him. He's my partner, my friend. Always back to back, me and Den. I'd been covering for him for so long I couldn't keep all the lights straight anymore. So I tell her, Denny's not working any 2 or 3 jobs, Con. All that money, she asked me, where's he getting it, Joey? I didn't answer right off. I don't want to know, do I, she says. I say, he's taking care of his family. Connie's laugh is full of disgust. This fat lip he gave me is taking care of his family. A bullet through a front window is taking care of his family. Stewie! Connie kind of broke down and slumped into my arms. As I held her in the hallway that night, it dawned on me why all the women I dated over the years had faded out of my life with a shrug. Life. Holding Connie, it gave me the strength that I never had alone. And she's always telling me I'm so good to her, so good to Denny, so good to the kids. Hines even. It was her that gave me the strength to be comforting. She has that kind of effect on me. It's always her. It always has been. With Stewie's life in the balance, everything just kind of opened up between us that night. I think Connie suspected the worst before I ratted Denny out. She just put up with Denny's bullshit for the sake of the kids. Well, plus, she loved him, too. I stood up at their wedding, no doubt about that. You could forgive him for anything. But clocking her like he did, cutting up her lip with that stupid faux Super Bowl pinky ring of his. She loved him that much. I did too, I guess. Kids, he beat the crap out of me daily. Summers 3 times a day, more if we were really bored. I'd never cry or complain about it because if I did, I was afraid Denny would stop being my best friend. And thought of that hurt worse than anything. Board up guy's gone, Denny limped up the stairs. It wasn't me holding Connie that got him suspicious as much as the fact that we both pulled away from each other at the same second. This cloud of shame hanging between us both because we both ratted Denny out. and without exactly meaning to do so, allied against him. You know how you know someone so well, you can read them in an instant? I think Denny could read the guilt on us as easy as we could read the suspicion on him. I stayed on the couch that night. I'd done it a lot lately, and even though I suspected Denny would like to toss me out of my ear, he thought it'd be a good idea I'd play watchdog. Hines was hiding under the bed in Noel's room and wouldn't come out. And so, I stood guard. In case Walter Lorenz comes back with something more potent than a 44 Magnum.